Welcome back to the Resupply with me, Guy Next Door.
Me, DK.
And me, Than.
Bringing you your semi-regular Space Marines and Laser Force double tap, if you will. We've been gone a little while, and I especially have been gone a little while. You guys did a pod without me last month, which I quite enjoyed. Just FYI,
It was rough, bro. There were some big shoes to fill.
Yeah, there really were. I mean, DK and I were happy to do it, but let's not ever do that again, okay?
yeah.
It's like, oh shit, I have to ask questions and stuff because Steve hasn't got in the conversation.
We're
I don't know how to do
gonna move this combo along. Look, I wanted to do this. This will be a special edition of the Resupply. It won't be so much Laser Force centric, and it's going to be a little bit heavier than the normal pods. It's also going to be a little bit shorter than what we normally do.
Maybe
We'll see what happens when I start talking.
Shit's gonna get real.
Yeah, but look, I'm fortunate enough to have somewhat of a platform in this podcast where I can talk about stuff. Look, if you don't really want the heaviness of my story over the last month, feel free to skip this one. We'll release another podcast soon, and we'll go back to our semi-regularly scheduled shenanigans. But yeah, I thought I'd take an opportunity to kind of shed some light over what the last month has been like. So, if you guys will indulge me.
yeah, and
Of course,
yeah.
man.
And yeah, last listener disclaimer: if you do not have the emotional bandwidth to deal with what is going to be a really heavy pod dealing with loss and death and some other things like that, you can click out now. We are not going to be offended.
Push the bail button. Guy next door may even cry. We'll see what happens. So about a month ago, in fact it was the end of August, I got a call from my siblings, my older brother, who had been on the phone with my mum, and earlier, actually the end of last year, my dad was diagnosed with small cell lung cancer, which, just hashtag fuck cancer, by the way. I know if you have had parents or people close to you go through some of the same stuff, and I know some of you have had it, relatively recently. So you probably understand what we've been going through. But the start of September, after battling for the last several months, my dad passed away of lung cancer and lung fibrosis, and we were pretty lucky that we got to spend a bit of time with my dad before he passed. As a whole family, my whole family sort of gathered around him. I got a couple siblings who live in North Queensland, so they came over, and we were together around my dad as he passed as a family, which was obviously bittersweet. But about a week after that, because my nana, my mum's mum, had also been quite sick in the hospital, and directly a week after my dad's funeral, she passed away. And just dealing with the loss of two very prominent adults in my life, the third major one being my mum, has been pretty fucking terrible, to be fair. And really numbing. I've been talking to a bunch of people about how because obviously people ask you, how you feeling, how you doing, what's going on, And the only way I can really explain it is there's a weird numbness and a weird fog that's surrounding life at the moment. So, as you guys could probably imagine, jumping on a microphone and being somewhat entertaining was kind of at the bottom of the priority list.
That's fair.
Totally fair. Totally fair.
Yeah, it's dealing with loss is a really fucking weird thing, especially when it's people that have always been in your life are no longer in your life. And my dad was pretty rad guy. He's a pretty quiet dude, which is weird because I'm definitely not quiet.
No, not even a little. That would be an accurate statement.
And he's not the most emotional dude either, which again is weird because like I'm not like that at all. But
nope.
But just a couple moments seeing my dad fade. Just before he faded, actually, he. Like I said, we had gathered around him as a family, and he had some pretty amazing last few days. So I'm glad that he got those. But yeah, it's been a rough few weeks. It's been a rough month. September can eat a dick because it's been pretty shit. Yeah, I know I'm not the only one in the community that's lost people recently and have lost people within this month as well.
Yeah, it's a rough time for a lot of people, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think the day after or the day of my nana's funeral was the anniversary of Flint's death, and that's obviously been a rough time for his family, but also the Sacramento community. I know that it was pretty rough when you guys found that out. And I remember the morning that I found out about him. Just couldn't stop crying. But yeah, like it's I obviously saw a bunch of memorial posts for him as well around that week, and just wanted to send out some big love to his family.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can certainly appreciate what you're talking about with that sort of numb feeling that you kind of go through, because I think that was kind of how it was for a lot of us. I know it was for me when Than called and had to give me the unfortunate news. Oof. The very sad news about that, which I immediately knew something was wrong, because anytime that Than actually calls you on the phone instead of just sending you a message, it's like, bro. Uh-oh. Something is not right. And
yeah,
that was a pretty terrible day.
I'm not big on calling people. So and I'm not big on getting called. So because if I remember right, it was Yama who called me, and it was like, why is Sean calling me? Sean never calls me. This is weird.
Yeah.
And so of course that kind of spiderwebbed out from there. So yeah,
and Flint was a really big part of the community. I know it was just this last Nationals, as people probably saw, it was still an emotional time for some of the Sacramento people who knew him, and for the Detroit players who knew him too. For like Micro and Ghost, they were a lot closer with him than people might have thought because of distance and stuff like that. But having played a bunch of video games with them and just interacted with them at various tournaments and stuff like that, I know that they're just kind of referencing him in their victory toast, so to speak.
Yeah.
Was an emotional moment for a lot of people. And I know a few of the other Sacramento players who were a little bit newer to the scene, they were just like, I don't think they really realized how close they actually were. So they were like, what was that about? I didn't realize that they knew him that well. And I said, well, yeah, they were pretty close. So that was he touched a lot of people, and his family's work in suicide prevention and trying to stop other families from having to go through all of those same feelings of loss, all that emotion, is admirable and amazing because they've really been at the forefront of a regional movement to get a suicide prevention barrier put in on the Golden Gate
That's
Bridge
huge.
in San Francisco, and it's been amazing to see that they've been able to, I don't want to say triumph over the loss because you never get over that loss, but they've been able to kind of turn into something positive and something that has touched the lives of a lot of other people. So if you see, posts from lots of people in our laser tag community that are related to issues like suicide, mental health, depression, that's why. It's because we've dealt with it the firsthand. It's something that has touched our community in a deep and oftentimes saddening way, and something that we do think that we need to talk about more, because a lot of times in our society we're not good about talking about those things. And so I hate looking for silver linings and that kind of thing, but it has gotten people talking in a much more kind of significant way over the last 6 years.
Well, and I think the other thing with that, I mean, even now thinking about it, it's a little hard to deal with. It was so left field and so out of nowhere, and I remember, for weeks afterward and still currently, you kind of go, did we miss anything? And I think where we kind of landed on it was, no, we didn't. It was literally a first onset something, and we didn't miss anything. Or we didn't miss anything that we necessarily should have caught, which might be a little more accurate.
Yeah.
But that's why we've also had these kind of conversations about, check on your friends, and not just when they seem down. Sometimes you just need to check in with people, even if everything seems like it's going well, just to do kind of a, hey, we see you, we hear you, we care about what you're doing.
Generally.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's basically the, I think one of the things that we can in general all agree about us as lasers players, and and using lasers as the benchmark, because, well, this is a laser tag podcast after all.
It is how we know each other.
Yeah, is there's a certain acknowledgement that part of what brings us together is that we've all got a certain level of damage. We're all broken in different ways, and within the community we oftentimes find people that have baggage that's compatible with our own. We oftentimes find people that they have kind of like the missing pieces of things that we don't have, and we find that we're stronger together with that community.
I know that, like, with being away from the game, obviously I still get to play somewhat regularly. Coming back from dealing with the two, like my dad and my nan's funerals, the first thing I kind of wanted to do was play Laser Force, because I think for a lot of us, when we play Laser Force, everything else kind of just fades away, away into the background, and so you can get some respite, like for an evening, and go back to some sort of normality, because everything else in your life is kind of turned upside down. So I was pretty thankful,
You can get the normalcy in 15-minute increments.
That's right. And like I said, real thankful that I personally had that to fall back on, after being, because my nan and my dad were based further down the country, so And at first, I'd said to my wife she should stay home whilst I go down and just check out the situation. So I was away from home and away from her for about 3 or 4 weeks.
Oof.
And having just come back from nationals, being away from home and family for 3 weeks there. I was only home for about 3 weeks out of the last 3 months. It's crazy. So to have Laser Force to come back to, as well as obviously my wife. I had my second wife, Laser Force, to come back to.
Are you sure that's not your first wife?
Don't tell her that.
That's how it's described in my household. So
yeah, I'm pretty sure she understands. Wife 1 and 1A. Yeah, it's been massively helpful to have that, that other pillar of normality. Yeah. Or
as normal as lasers ever is.
Normal for us.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Well, this is one time I will not begrudge you for having access to laser tag when I don't. You need it more than I do right now, buddy.
Yeah, it's been fucking tough. The other thing, speaking of acknowledging people, I like I said, I know that there has been a lot of people on the scene that have lost people in the last couple weeks or within the last year, or people Wolfman, Bronwyn, Juan, Tish, sorry, Meow, Meow from Brisbane. I know that those people have had some significant losses in their life, and have obviously shared with me about their losses, and I've done the same with them, which again has been super helpful. Being able to talk about and share the grief. Like grief is a normal thing, but it's still really hard.
Yeah, and everybody has to, even though you can deal with it as a community, everybody still has to deal with it in their own way too.
And if I didn't, if I've forgotten anyone, feel free to chastise me or send me a message. And if you need to talk or if you want to talk, share war stories. We're always here. But just wanted to acknowledge some of those people and just let you guys know that we're thinking about you and sending massive love out to you guys. Because
you have the love and support of the entire Resupply team.
Yeah, I know how important it is to get those messages, and how much it kind of helps to know that people are at least thinking about you.
Yeah, even if you don't think that there's anybody out there that's going through the same stuff you are, or would be sympathetic to hearing about the stuff that you're going through, I mean, that's wrong.
Yeah.
There's for potentially some of the newer people within the community, maybe you don't quite get just how long some of this stuff has been around in the pretty deep ties that a lot of us have to each other. But even if you're new to the community and you've got things that you're dealing with that you want to share and talk to somebody about, like, there are so many people within the community that are happy to lend an ear or a keyboard, as the case may be, depending.
Sometimes that's easier.
Yeah, sometimes that is easier for all involved. It's true. But yeah, it's I guess the big thing is, believe it or not, there are people out there within the community that do care, even if they make good shows of seeming like they don't really care about anybody.
The subtext here is that Grumpy Than, despite being grumpy, is actually quite a good listener and is a pretty decent dude at the end of the day. So he's cleverly disguised as somebody who doesn't want to hear about your problems, but he actually is quite sympathetic at the end of the day.
Now, to be fair, there are sometimes I don't want to hear about your problems, but generally,
but the heavy shit you can lay on him.
Yeah, that's fairly accurate. I don't want to hear about your bullshit problems. Let's put it that way. But the heavy
like how
stuff.
Metallica cancelled their show down to New Zealand. So I'm devastated.
That's more in the genre of first world problems, I guess.
Although even with that, I mean, there is that element of mental health there as well, because I mean the whole reason they canceled those shows because apparently James Hetfield fell back off the wagon with some stuff, and so I mean as much as it does suck for every Metallica fan in Australia, New Zealand, who was really ready for them to make that part of the tour. Again, you have to respect the knowing that he needed to get the help that he needed to get, and
we're glad you're getting some help,
going and getting it. So big takeaway from that. If James fucking Hetfield can acknowledge that he's got a problem and go and get the help he needs before he becomes some type of statistic, you can too.
Yeah,
yep,
just
true that.
Reach out, people. Like, reach out to your community, reach out to your loved ones. Just reach out. It's important. But yeah, did you guys want to add anything else?
I think we're
good.
We're good on this one. I think we've depressed everybody enough.
We're ready to put September in the books. It wasn't the Resupply's best month. So we're looking forward to better days, because we're all gonna be here for each other and look to the future.
So
exactly,
I really appreciate everyone sort of indulging me in my grief. I was kind of dreading coming back on the microphone actually. So this has kind of been really helpful to kind of ease back into again some sort of normality, I guess. But
we're glad you could share your story, share your truth.
Yeah, and actually, just one last point. Just wanted to reiterate how relatable grief can kind of actually be. Talking to some people this week about how just that fog, just that weird haze, the weird fog that surrounds your life is something that's completely normal and other people feel too. So that really helped me, or is helping me, because the fog's still there. Everything still feels really fucking weird. So but anyway, we'll be back probably later this week with another pod that'll be a little more upbeat. We have some exciting stuff to talk about, some positive stuff to talk about.
Oh, hey, that's good.
Yeah. So
be fucking fantastic.
Yeah, it's good weeks to come, hopefully. But for this, I guess, special edition of the Resupply, I've been Guy Next Door.
I've been DK.
And I've been Than.
Always remember to reach out and talk to the people around you, folks. We'll see you next time.
Send in hugs.